Hey guys, it's Melvin7 here, and today I'm your host for Stray News. We're going to be previewing the Barcelona game tomorrow, and we've got a fantastic panelist again. I can't speak today. Anyway, let's just introduce them. So first of all, we've got Joey.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Next, we've got Phil, a respected journalist.
How's it going, lads?
And finally, we've got Sean, who's at a baseball stadium, I think, unveiling a new player. Yeah.
Here you go. We're at the Trenton Thunder game with the Thunder playing the Binghamton Mets, and one of the players just got called up to the major leagues, so it's a big party here.
Busy life. So, yeah, we're kind of lucky to have these three on now. But anyway, on to thoughts that have risen from the press conference that Louis van Gaal did earlier. And the first question I've got is your thoughts on Di Maria, because every time Louis van Gaal's asked about this, he's never decisive or conclusive about what's happening. All he says is he's returning to the tour tomorrow, and that's it. He won't say anything about PSG, etc., which is kind of understandable. But what are your thoughts on this, Joey? Do you see him staying, or do you think he's definitely gone?
I mean, according to the French press, I mean, he was supposed to be unveiled today. What happened to that? And I just think there's a lot of reports coming out saying, you know, he is going to stay. He said he wanted to stay, but it just seems like, you know, I think it's, you know, he's gone. He didn't have a really good, successful first season. It started off well. He still banged in 10 assists. But it just seems like, you know, maybe his head's not there, his heart's not there. It seems like he was really set off, you know, on PSG, and if he could have gone there last summer, he would have. It's just disappointing because we know the quality he possesses. But yeah, I think he's off.
Fair enough. I mean, I've still got hope that he will stay, but obviously we'll see what happens. So yeah, what are your thoughts on it, Phil? Do you agree with Joey, or do you think he might, you know, try and do better than what he did last season? Because obviously he was a little bit of a disappointment.
I can't see any way back for him at United anymore. I think that both parties have decided that it's best for him to move on. I think that there's genuine interest from PSG. There's a difference in agreement between the price. There's things that haven't come out in the media that are affecting Angel Di Maria's position at Manchester United. Let's just say environmental things within the club that he's not happy with. I think that manager and the club have grown tired of Di Maria, and I think they're going to move him on.
Fair enough. I mean, that's not really what a lot of people want to happen, but I suppose what goes on behind the scenes, you don't really know. So yeah, what are your thoughts on it, Sean? Do you think you'd be very disappointed if he did leave, or do you think we could find an adequate replacement, etc.?
I think you'd be able to find a replacement at this point. Obviously, it looks like Pedro's coming in. But you know, I would be a little disappointed, but you know, I think you gotta want to be at the club at some point. You know, if you're unhappy or you're miserable here because of people breaking in your house or because of this or because of that, at some point it's almost you know, I equated the other day to being with your girlfriend or something like that. If you're unhappy with her to the point where, you know, you're just miserable for 2 years or 3 years, what's the point? Like, you know, he's a world-class player, obviously, but if he doesn't want to be there and there's problems and they don't want him there, just move him on, get as much as of the feedback as you can, and sign it on someone that wants to be there.
Fair enough. Very, very dimming verdicts there. That's not the right word, but yeah, damning verdicts there. But we'll see what happens with Di Maria. We honestly will. He comes back to the tour tomorrow, so yeah, we'll see what the situation is then. The next is going to be another player before we get into the proper preview. It's David De Gea. Now, it seems as though this Ramos deal, according to Louis van Gaal, is under works, but he expects David De Gea to at least be here for the first game against Spurs, so he thinks he's going to start against Barcelona. What are your thoughts on that, Joey? Do you think he should start if he is maybe going, or do you think maybe we should give Johnston another chance, because he did very well in the last game and in the other game?
You know, for me, I just want this done as quickly as possible, and I think they need to look at Real Madrid and say, look, you know, set a deadline, because we're going to be at the season, and next weekend is the Community Shield, and Van Gaal is the type of manager who is prepared for everything, and he'll want that sorted out. I think for me, I think you should play Lindegaard and Johnstone tomorrow against Barcelona, because you still have another game to get De Gea in if he does stay. That fourth game against PSG. And we know the quality that De Gea possesses. You kind of want to see what Johnstone can do, especially against Barcelona. It would be a great test for him. So for me, I would let De Gea sit on the bench and try and get this thing figured out, because obviously the club and the fans, we have aspirations and expectations. We want to obviously be in the top two, challenging for the league title. We want to win a cup competition, either the League Cup or the FA Cup. And you want to see him get into the latter stages of the Champions League. So I want to see this thing get sorted out. I think that if Ramos, they got the Radio Marca saying that Perez is willing to let him go. So if that's the case, let's get this done by the middle of next week. And De Gea obviously is part of that deal. So I would like to see something happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely want it over and done with, because the sooner we can get our targets in, the sooner we'll be ready. Like last year, we got 4 of our players after the game against Swansea. Obviously, we've got 4 in now, which is great, but we still need a centre half and a striker, in my opinion, and then sort out a goalkeeper if David De Gea does leave. So do you agree with his thoughts, Phil, or do you think we should be playing David De Gea because it's a team like Barcelona, and if there's any chance he can't stay, surely you want to give him experience?
No, I agree with Joey. Listen, there's so much riding on the David De Gea thing, not just another goalkeeper, but another centre-half. Marcus came out today, of course, and said that Sergio Ramos has agreed to leave the football club with permission of Florentino Perez. If David De Gea doesn't play tomorrow, then I think you can be certain that there's legs in that, because Van Gaal will give a lot away tomorrow on what his first lineup is going to be against Tottenham. And I think that if they haven't got any assurances from Real Madrid that Sergio Ramos deal is happening, then De Gea will play. Because with the Victor Valdez situation, United don't have an obvious replacement for David De Gea in house, so they're going to have to go out and buy a goalkeeper. I don't think they're going to start Sam Johnston with the start of the season. And given the fact that goalkeeper and centre half are such pivotal positions in defence and so crucial to United next season, it just has to happen. It has to move on. I understand the club need to make a bigger point to Real Madrid, but it's such a crucial part of United's preparation. And with the season 2 weeks away, it has to be over and done with quickly.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It does have to be done as soon as possible, because we just can't afford to have a bad start again like we did last season. And goalkeeper, that's a key position, definitely. So. Do you agree, Sean, with these two? Do you think that, if David De Gea is going to go, then we shouldn't be playing him against Barcelona, or do you think we should?
Well, I'm going to give 2 thoughts on this. The Barcelona game, look, if he's going to go, obviously he shouldn't play tomorrow. But, look, if Real Madrid's going to keep going, and dragging this out, it's very crucial that Manchester United goes out at the beginning of the season and has a hot start. I mean, look at the season last year, the Swansea match, the Burnley match, with the Spurs match at home. If they can get 4 matches out of them before Real Madrid decides what they're doing, or I don't know, maybe they don't want to do it. It sounds like obviously it's going to happen, and Ramos is going to come this way, so it might all be a moot point, but it's just a mess too with the Valdez situation. But I guess if he's going to go, obviously, then he shouldn't play against Barcelona. Let the kid play, Johnston, and let Dave sit on the bench and make sure he doesn't get hurt.
Fair enough, I suppose. All 3 of you agree with that. In terms of what I think, I would kind of agree to an extension. If there is sufficient movement in this Ramos De Gea thing, then don't play him. But if there's not, then we've got no choice really, because we need him to be fully fit for the season, providing he's here. The next question I'm going to go on, this is the last one before we start talking Barcelona. It's about the performance against San Jose. Obviously we had 21 players playing. Johnston played the full 90 minutes because of Lindegaard's injury and David De Gea's supposed injury. So, what were your thoughts on the San Jose game? Any players that particularly impressed? Do you think that any of them have got a valid claim to be in the starting lineup against Barcelona? We'll start with you, Joey.
To be honest, the first half was all right, wasn't too terrible. The second half, I was so uninterested in it. It was almost just boring to me. You know what I mean? Like I was on my phone doing stuff, reading articles, on Twitter, and I had the game on. It was just like the game was secondary. It wasn't too good of a performance in the second half. So far, I think the thing I've been impressed with, I think Darmian's ability to defend. He always seems to be in the right position. He got out of place once or twice the first match, but that's to be expected. You're playing with a new team. Everybody's speaking English. You're not the greatest at English, but I think Darmian is going to be a massive upgrade over Valencia. And there was Ben Hall was talking that Valencia is fit now. I really, really hope that he's looking at Valencia as the backup, and as maybe Valencia maybe could be a utility type player, because we've seen him play in midfield. I think it was against Everton. He did okay. He can fill in out wide. He could fill in at fullback if you need him to. I want to see more of that and less of Valencia starting at fullback. So yeah, Darmian for me has stepped it up, and that guy Mike Smalling, he's been pretty all right. he's been all right. I've been constantly talking about him over the last 6 months. He's become one of my actually favorite players because he's gotten so much better on the ball. He's gotten better at reading the game, and I think he's really starting to fulfill his potential. And I'm hoping that he can stay healthy. And whoever they do bring in at center back, I think that we could have a good partnership. So Smalling and Darmian for me.
Definitely, yeah. The Valencia-Darmian debate is my next question, by the way. But yeah, I definitely agree with all that. But one thing I'm kind of surprised Van Gaal did is separate the two teams for both games. Like he didn't mix them up. Like I'm surprised he allowed players like Schweinsteiger and Herrera as well as Smalling to play on the youth side and didn't switch out any of the other team to integrate with them. Is that something you expected to happen, Phil, or like me, did you expect him to mix and match a bit more?
No, I think the first two games, in terms of its competitive level, wasn't something that United were hoping to get a lot out of. I think it was more about getting fitness, and the players that have come in are going to have to earn their way into that first team group. And Van Gaal has said that already about Darmian, saying it's a backup to Valencia. And I think there's some psychological warfare at work there, where look, you have to earn your place. Schweinsteiger, he said the same about him. Depay, these kids are going to have to. Obviously, Schweinsteiger isn't a kid, but these guys are going to have to come in and realise that just because you're a new signing doesn't mean you walk into the team. And to be honest, if I was to pick out the players that stood out against San Jose, one of them would be Pereira. I thought Depay had a decent first half. The Pereira's second half I thought was promising. Schweinsteiger was poor. So to me, I think they really, against Barcelona, you'll see a bit more of a cohesive group where Van Gaal gets more of what he's looking to start with in the first team. And I think that with the signing of Schneiderlin, United now have alternative options in that position if someone gets injured. Therefore, they won't take risks with Schweinsteiger in this game. So for me, it's great that you've got 4 new players, but each of those 4 new players are going to have to earn their way into that first team, and I think that that's what he's looking for in those second half performances. And that intensity wasn't there second half, and I think it's important that message is sent. So it doesn't surprise me,
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I was just surprised that he wouldn't put, for example, Schweinsteiger in the experienced team for one of them. But yeah, obviously, performance and fitness levels are the most important thing in pre-season, not the results. So yeah, do you agree with the other two, Sean, or do you have any other different opinions?
No, I mean for the most part, with keeping the kids in the second half, I first want to say kind of what Phil said. Pereira has been fantastic in his first 2 games, and his kid's 19 years old, and obviously, talked about him last week when I was on before the first game, and I just think he's going to be a big-time player for United, and hopefully he gets some more game time this year. But yeah, it's the second half dropped off a little bit, but obviously like Phil said as well, it's San Jose. It's not the greatest level of play, so it's tough to keep the level of play up the whole time. So I was a little interested to see Herrera play in the second half again, and not maybe play with the kids or the players in the first team. So that was a little bit interesting to me. Let's see maybe if he gets to start against Barcelona. I think that'll tell a little bit more, or if he goes with maybe Mata again. So it'll be interesting to see before that game.
Yeah, definitely. And moving on to a point that Joey said earlier about Darmian and Valencia. Now, obviously, Van Gaal came out in press conferences and said he wants 2 players in every single position. So obviously, Valencia is going to compete with Darmian. Now, Rafael looks as though he's out. So who do you expect, providing they're both fit, to play against Spurs, and who do you want to play against Spurs, Valencia or Darmian? Yeah, we'll start with you, Joey.
I'm here. The mute button didn't want to work for a second. Obviously, Darmian. I'm Italian. I love Italians. Defending, that's what he does. He's a proper right back. He's 6 foot. Good with set pieces. And I think he's got to start. Valencia going forward last year. Other than I think it was Nutmeg and Joe Allen or Jordan Henderson. He didn't really give too much for me going forward. And I remember later in the year, after that nice run of games we had, we were struggling. And I want to say it was against West Brom at home. And every time he got the ball, that was the game Van Persie was playing in central midfield. Yeah, every time Valencia got the ball, I just didn't feel confident that he was going to deliver a ball that could be put in the back of the net. Or even deliver it at all, because he just, he squares up his defender and he just, he does that foot thing and he just stands there. So for me, Darmian has to start day one, Like I said, for all those reasons before, I agree that Valencia could be a good quality backup in several areas on the pitch. Darmian for me.
Yeah, definitely. But I think one thing we've got to remember is the first choices that get picked in against Spurs aren't necessarily going to be there for the whole season. Obviously, players can not perform, so others come in and become first choice. So what are your thoughts on it, Phil? Darmian, Valencia, etc.
I have 2 opinions on this. First of all, I think people underestimate how difficult the transition is for a young kid. He's only 25, coming into Manchester United with the language. He hasn't been in Manchester yet. Coming in and playing at Old Trafford, it's immensely difficult and adjusting to that pace. We saw how difficult it was for Patrice Evra, and the question is whether you want to take the risk. That being said, I agree with Joey in that Darmian is more of a natural right back, and he is someone that in the long run I want to see in that position. That's why he's been bought. The old saying about Antonio Valencia, that he gets up in the morning, walks out of his bedroom, bumps into his wife, and turns around and gets back into bed, because every time that guy goes forward, he turns around and goes backwards. Right? He's just not a right back, and United they needed a legitimate right back who every time I've seen have been really impressed with, and I think once he settles down in Manchester and becomes used to the pace and physicality of the Premier League, he's going to be a world-class right back. And the Italian guys that we have on our football radio show, they rave about him. They think he's the best right back, was the best right back in Italy. So brilliant signing for United.
Yeah, I know. I've spoken to a lot of Italians on Twitter, and they really rate him, which is why I was excited that we signed him. So do you agree with that, Sean, or do you think we're being a little unfair to Valencia or not?
No, I don't think you're being unfair to Valencia at all. Obviously, if Valencia is the right back after the first month of the season, I think Manchester United's in a lot of trouble, to be honest with you. Obviously Darmian was brought in, and everybody raves about him in Italy. He's going to be a player, obviously. It's going to take him a little while to settle. He may be there first day against Spurs, and he may be fantastic. It may, maybe it'll take 2 weeks, but and that's a game. That's a big game right off the bat as well. So if Valencia is playing their while people aren't injured or it's not a Capital One Cup game, if it's Capital One and maybe it's different, or I'd rather give the kid Varela a chance too. But Darmian's got to be the right back, midway through the season, at the end of the season, and going forward. There's no question about that.
Yeah, I agree with everyone, to be honest. I want Darmian to be it, but also if Valencia was, I don't think he'd cement his position as first choice. I think Darmian would quickly overtake him. But now we're like halfway through and we're finally going to get on to questions about Barcelona. It's a miracle. But yeah, this is such a stupid question because it's so obvious. But yeah, I'm going to ask it anyway. What are the dangers from Barcelona? The main threat, I mean, this is so dumb, so yeah, we'll start with you, Joey. The main threats from Barcelona.
That guy that cheats, dives, and hates the Jackson 5. Suarez. Come on. I mean, I'm glad he's at Liverpool or at Barcelona now because I can kind of not hate him as much, but he's still a piece of shit. Let's not forget, the things he's done. But he's a damn good piece of shit. He's really good at that game of football. Yeah, obviously, it's Suarez. I mean, with Messi, out from Copa America, and Neymar, I don't even think is, he's still on holidays. But I think that'll be good though, having him because he is top quality, and I think you want to see how we defend against strikers of that caliber because you're going to be coming up against them in the Champions League. You could get drawn in the same group as Barcelona, so it'll be good for us, to play against him and that team. So yeah.
Yeah, I thought people would say that because obviously now Messi is obviously coming back on the same day that Di Maria, etc. is. He won't be fit to play, same as Mascherano. But are there any other threats you're worried about, Phil, other than the obvious threat of Suarez?
Yeah, I mean, the threats with Barcelona are obvious. I just hope people realise, especially Busquets and Alves, that this is still a friendly. And we don't see Busquets and Alves dropping like my stomach when that actually Madison league came out. So make sure, hopefully we see these two behaving properly and we see a good game because I don't want to see the play acting that we see every week in the Liga because as I often say about Sergio Busquets, this is what happens when you don't spank your kids. You end up with a brat like that needs a good kicking. So hopefully we see a good game.
Yeah, I'm sure we will, and yeah, there's so many threats to talk about. So yeah, you've got a lot here, Sean. But is there any other ones you're worried about, or is it just mainly Suarez because he's that high level of caliber of striker?
Yeah, obviously Suarez. Watching them win the Champions League last year and just seeing how dynamic their offense is. I mean, with Neymar out and Messi out, it's going to be Suarez. But the last time they played in America in DC, night 2011, Manchester United won 2-1. I think El Cleves had the big goal to win the game. Tom Cleverley to beat Barcelona, the mighty Barcelona, after they had just beaten Manchester United in the Champions League final at Wembley. So, but it was a pretty good game. I mean, it was pretty clean. You never know with Alves and Busquets, obviously, like Phil said. But I expect this. Suarez is obviously going to be up for it. I think this will be the first time he's faced Manchester United with Barcelona. Obviously, he's going to be up for the game. So, but they have threats all over the field. They're just such a good team. It's a very good matchup after those first two matches against Club America and San Jose for Manchester United, with just a week and a half left before the season starts. It's very interesting to see how they'll do against a team like that, even without guys.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I think a couple more threats that people are kind of underestimating is their youngsters like Sergi Sampa, etc., Douglas, that are rumoured to be leaving or going out on loan. They're going to really want to impress for Barcelona as well. You've also got players like Gerard Piqué. I mean, they've got so much class. It's beyond a joke. And last season we did play well, at that time they were the Champions League winners, Real Madrid, and we did play very well against them. But as we know, we didn't have the best of starts. So although it'll say a lot whether we can compete against Barcelona, I don't think we can take a lot out of the game, which the pre-season is just so unpredictable, man. It really is. I mean, Chelsea lose 4-2 against Red Bulls as reserve sides, but they're probably still, well, they obviously are the main threat for the title, so it's just one of those things you don't know what to do. But yeah, I'm going to ask about the predicted Barca lineup you think they'll line up with, like as many players as you think they will now. Messi's not there, Mascherano, etc. So yeah, Joey, you want to give it a go?
Yeah, I think it'll be Alves. I think Alba's on the tour, correct?
I think so, yeah.
So I think they'll go with their starting fullbacks, PK, and then
Alba.
Bartra, right, will be center back.
I would have thought so, because yeah, they're using a lot of youth.
Yeah, and I mean he 2 seasons ago got a lot of game time when they had some injuries and they weren't playing as well. I think Rakitic will be there starting. Sergio Roberto probably. Suarez. Will Pedro start? I guess that's the $1 million question.
That would be pretty funny if he did score against United. Yeah, I haven't actually thought too much of that. Actually, like if he did score against United, and then
well, you want him to get fitness. You don't want him to come in, out of shape or anything like that. So, it would be also hilarious if they just wrapped up the deal before the game and then just put him in the lineup, tweet out the lineup with him in it. So, yeah,
that's actually interesting whether he'll play. Like, yeah, I hadn't thought of that before, but yeah, we'll see what happens. So yeah, Phil, do you expect the same sort of players that Joey said to be playing?
Yeah, I think it'll be very much like we've already seen with the Galaxy. I think you'll see the likes of Halilovic play, Rakitic, Montoya, Bartra, a lot of their young players with the good mix. Suarez will play, obviously. No Neymar, no Messi, which would imagine that as long as Pedro's still a Barcelona player, he'll play. Although they do have some very good youngsters in there, Munir and a couple of others. So from what I understand, they don't want anything announced before this friendly takes place. It'll all be done after. So there'll be no Pedro news, I would imagine, until next week.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, yeah, it will be interesting to see whether he does line up, though. Like, that definitely will. But Sean, yeah, do you agree with that? Like, do you think they're going to play a mix of youngsters along with, like, experienced heads?
Yeah, I think that's what they've been doing all tour, and I think they'll continue with that. Ter Stegen in goal, maybe Bartra, Sergio Roberto in the middle. Rakitic, just the guy. Obviously Suarez. It's going to be. I'm really interested to see how Suarez is going to play against them. Obviously he's going to be so fired up for it. It's going to be one of those games that maybe he's going to be unplayable, so that's going to be interesting for Big Phil Jones in the first half if he's playing, or Mike Chris Smalling, whoever's got it, whoever's going to be back there marking him. But it should be an interesting match, and that's good. They're going to get some of the young kids coming at the defense, and that's obviously good. Full of energy and ready to play.
Yeah, I mean, 2 players I definitely don't want to see play any minutes because we'll get ripped to shreds would be Evans and Blackett. Like, really, I think them against Suarez, oh God, I really don't want to see that. But yeah, we'll move on to United's lineup, which hopefully we'll know a little bit more about. So yeah, Joey, what do you expect the lineup for the 60 minutes that Louis van Gaal said? So the 60-minute lineup.
I'm going to go Darmian, Smalling, Jones.
You keep forgetting goalkeepers here.
Shaw. I purposely didn't do it because I guess he said De Gea is going to play, so I'll put De Gea in there. Even though, like we were discussing earlier, if he's definitely leaving, I'm giving somebody else a chance to get Matt Sharp. I'm not letting him in there. And then my midfield would be Carrick, Schneiderlin, Herrera. It'd be a 4-3-3 like we saw at the end of last season, and then I would go Mata, Depay, and Rooney up top. But I mean, you could also do a few things differently. It'll be interesting, should Ashley Young start, because Ashley Young was one of our better players at the end of last season. So I think that, yeah, I would go with that 4-3-3.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, literally, that is mine. You said Smalling and Jones as the centre-back partnership, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, because I think that, I'm probably one of the few people that think that eventually, if they could both stay healthy, that we saw, they went to Anfield, I mean, and that one goal was bullshit. I think it was Sturridge that scored it. They kept a clean sheet against Tottenham at home. They played okay against City at home in the derby. They can be a center back pairing, but people, they have an opinion about both of them, and they see that maybe they're not the most graceful looking, but they get the job done. Obviously I still think a center back should come in, but I think competition is healthy. But I do think Smalling and Jones can be a decent partnership.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, now Rohu obviously comes back tomorrow, but won't play because he hasn't trained. We've only really got Evans as an experienced head, and let's be honest, we don't want him anywhere near the starting 11. But yeah, what about you, Phil? Do you think that's going to be a similar lineup, or is there any different changes you think for the 60 minutes?
I mean, the only, if I had to scribble a lineup in my head, I would say Johnstone, Sam Johnston, Shaw Blind at left back, Jones, Smalley, Darmian, Schneiderlin, Herrera, Depay, Rooney, Mata. If Blind doesn't play left back, then I expect him to play in midfield with Schneiderlin, given that Juan Mata's out, or Schweinsteiger's out.
So you think that Carrick would be pushed out of the team if Blind was in midfield?
You forgot about Michael Carrick. Actually, I will swap Blind for Michael Carrick, because I do think that what we'll see tomorrow will be very similar to what we see at Tottenham, what we start, and Michael Carrick is one of those players that is irreplaceable for Van Gaal.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, it will, as Lou Hall himself said, it will be a very similar team to what plays Spurs, assuming there's not many injuries. So, yeah, Sean, is that your lineup as well, or do you think other players like Pereira or Young deserve to, have a chance at the starting lineup?
I'd like to think he does. I'd really, really like to see him in there, but I think Matt is probably going to start ahead of him. But it would be nice to see him start against Barcelona. I think he could do a job for Manchester United. I think midfield will be Schneiderlin, Carrick. Obviously, Carrick. Like what Phil said, I think Carrick's probably going to get in there over Blind, and Shaw is going to be left back. I think Shaw is going to have a big year this year. If he can stay healthy, obviously he's lost a lot of weight already, and he's just kind of destined to have a big year down that left wing and overlap. I mean, you can kind of see him already this year. He's been overlapping in some of these preseason games, and he's looking really quick. I don't know if that's one thing that they said about him last year, but he's been very quick in these games, so it'll be interesting. And then Darmian on the right, and just two center backs. I guess it's Smalling and Jones, and I would expect them to start the season unless Phil Jones gets hurt or somewhere along walking around Chicago, something before the. Who knows with him? I mean, he could get hurt anytime, sneezing or something like this. So, but and Sam Johnstone in goal. Johnson, I think, give him a chance. He played well so far, and if De Gea is going, then give him a chance.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, right, my next two questions, try and concise it because these would take forever to justify. But yeah, I'm going to ask you the 5 players that have impressed you the most in the tour so far. So that's against Club America and San Jose. So 5 players. Start with you, Joey.
5?
Yeah, that most impressed you.
Schneiderlin, Darmian, Pereira, Depay, Smalling. I want to real quick about Schneiderlin. I've noticed the last 2 games, he'll have the ball and he looks up and he'll just spray this pass, and it's just pinpoint accurate to the foot of the player. And I'm really excited. And he's probably, I was excited about Schweinsteiger, and I'm kind of more excited about Schneiderlin because he's 25 and he's going to get better, especially at United. I'm so excited to see Schneiderlin play. He's impressed me. I mean, obviously he got mugged off for the goal, but I'll let that slide because he scored his, the only goal against America. So yeah, there's my 5.
Yeah, I'll give mine after everyone else, but yeah, definitely with Schneidlin. I mean, they're Paul Scholes-esque passes. Like every time they were just going straight to the foot of the player. It was wonderful to see. And like you, I am excited to see him as well as Schweinsteiger. I know what you mean, like because he's younger and because it was all Arsenal this, Arsenal that. Now we've got him. It is really exciting to have him in the team. But yeah, what are your 5, Phil? Any differences to Joey?
I'm going to struggle to name 5. Can we shorten it to 3?
Yeah, if you want. Yeah, 3.
No. Listen, I think Sam Johnston has impressed me a lot in goal. I think he's looked very, very good. He's taken this opportunity. Depay impressed me in the second game. First game, no. I agree with Joey in that Schneiderlin's only taint is the goal that he gave away against San Jose. First game, he looked very good in Seattle. Pereira impressed me a lot second half, really grabbed his opportunity. Outside of that, I'm really struggling, and I think that's normal. I think, given that it's just the start of the season, it's pre-start of pre-season, you really won't see anybody hit rhythm and form for a few weeks. And so far, and I'm barely impressed. So for me, I think that would be it so far.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, as you say, it's only 2 games, so it is hard to say 5 players, I suppose. So yeah, Sean, your 5 players, any differences or just more the same?
Obviously Johnston. Luke Shaw, I said earlier, I think he's been, he's going to prove to be a big-time player this year. Andres Pereira, I've been, raving about him since the World Cup this summer. I just think he's going to have a big year this year if he gets some time. And it might only take maybe one injury for him to get in there, and maybe you never get him out of the lineup. I guess, Jesse Lingard's been okay, in flashes. He had a nice assist the other night. And once again, he was in that team last year at the beginning of the year, and 35 minutes into the season, he did his knee ligament, and this is a big year for him too. He's got to decide whether he wants to stay and fight and stay in the team. So, and I guess Schneiderlin, obviously, he's been very good. So.
Yeah, fair enough. My 5 is Schneiderlin, Shaw, Darmian. I'd probably say Mata, and did I miss Schneiderlin? Or I can't remember if I've named 5. Whoops. Memphis as well has impressed me. There's been a lot that have, but there's a couple that haven't, like Rooney. I hope he really grabs his opportunity against Barcelona. I wish I'd mentioned him earlier, but yeah, I guess we'll have to talk about him after the Barca game. So hopefully we'll only have positive things rather than negative. So the final question is going to be one up for debate, and that is the prediction. I think this one's going to be a really hard prediction, but we'll come to you first, Joey.
10-0.
Oh.
No, regardless of the score, I just want us to play well. I want us to link up together. I want to see us looking more like a team. I want to see Depay and Rooney's partnership continue to grow. I don't want any injuries. So, I mean, I know how the ICC is. I think I could see like a 1-1 or a 2-2 that goes to penalties instantly. Don't really care what happens, as far as penalties. But yeah, I could see like a 1-1 or a 2-2 at the full time.
Yeah, I'd take that definitely against, the new treble winners. So, yeah, what about you, Phil? Prediction?
I think we're going to see a competitive game given the opposition, given the importance to United and how close it is to their season. I think United are slightly ahead of Barcelona in terms of preparations, given their season starts sooner. So United should have the advantage. They've got most of their players back. I'm going to take United to nick it by a goal.
That would be great. I mean, obviously fitness and performance comes above result, but yeah, surely without Messi, they're a little bit more weakened. But yeah, Sean, your prediction?
I'll go 3-2 for United. I'd say 2-2 at half, and second half goal from Pereira that wins the game, 3-2.
Fair enough. I'm going to say 2-2. I'm going to be quite realistic because obviously they are such a hard team, but whatever, as long as there's a good performance. So, yeah, we're going to go through our social media now. So, yeah, where can people find you, Joey? On Twitter and anything else you've got?
It's at Joey Tabor, and I try and follow everyone back. So leave me a tweet on there, and we'll talk United. all day, every day.
Sounds good. What about you, Phil? Twitter and anything else you want to link?
Yeah, you can get me at Malachians, Malachhians, on Twitter.
All right. Yeah, the Twitter handles will be in the description, by the way. And finally, you, Sean, where can people find you?
I'm at the Prodigal Sean, SEAN. I also write for the Trenton Times, New Jersey's and New Jersey NJ.com, the East Coast's biggest news website right now, with 30 million viewers in our area, New York City, Philadelphia, and New Jersey. So
You can tell you've said that many times.
yeah, I got the script down now.
All right, so yeah, I'm at Melvin7 on Twitter as well as YouTube, where I upload Manchester United as well as FIFA content. So yeah, thanks to the panel, and hopefully we can get a good performance against Barcelona tomorrow, and more will come to light with the futures of Di Maria, Pedro, De Gea, etc. So thanks for watching, and yeah, peace.
Thanks.
All the best, boys. See ya. Bye.
See you later.